Well, hello everybody. I'm Chris Dorr, the director here at Florida Gun Owners, and come to you on another very tragic day where we've got another shooting at another gun-free zone, and it is another bloodbath that the fake news media is absolutely in overdrive right now, trying to exploit in every way, shape, or form that they can. I'm talking about the Florida State shooting that happened today down in Tallahassee, Florida, and the reaction that's happening instantly in response to this. It is very typical what we see now with every one of these. We like to say here at Florida Gun Owners that the fake news media and the gun control advocates that are their partners in trying to disarm America are the Rumpelstiltskins of the political world. They spin the blood of the innocent dead into political gold for their gun control agenda. And their agenda this time is to make all of America look exactly like what Florida State's campus was today. And that is a gun-free zone. Again, the killer ignored the sign like they always do. We're going to break down some of the things that we're hearing right now. Of course, none of this is a lot of this stuff gets revised as the media uncovers more and more or reports more and more, usually disingenuously. But this time it looks like the shooter has been identified as a kid named Phoenix Ickner. He's a political science major there at Florida State University. He is the son of a Leon County sheriff's deputy. So from what we're hearing, he's 20 years old. That means that all the safe storage and gun lockup laws that the radical left has been proposing in states all across America for the last couple of years does not apply. This guy is legally an adult. He is legal to possess that firearm. We're hearing reports that he used a handgun and a shotgun. And also, I can pop up a picture of this nut job. This is what he wrote a couple of days ago, and I'll pop this up here for you guys to see as well. Not a couple of days ago, a couple of months ago, as Trump got into office. He's saying that these people are usually pretty entertaining, usually not for good reasons. He's a political science major. That's always a red flag. I think it's a little too late. Trump's already going to be inaugurated on January 20, and there's really not much you can do unless you outright revolt. It does. We don't know much about him yet, but it does not seem that this guy is going in a conservative direction. So we'll have to see more as more comes out with it. We have seen time and time again where they make a great, big, huge explosion in the media about these degenerates. And it usually ends up blowing back on them. You find out that they were radicalized leftists, usually members of the Democrat Party, who simply began to feed too much on the media's narrative that Hitler or that Trump is Hitler and all these things. They buy into the evangelical message that the radical left is selling these people, and they become absolutely violent. We're seeing that right now. We've seen that in so many instances over the last couple of years. I think of the Nashville church shooter, that girl who thought she was a man and had all these violent fantasies about killing Christians, as we saw in her manifesto. It's insane. So let's talk a little bit more about what happened here. This is, again, it's a gun-free zone, and you see this happening. I was on Twitter a little while ago. I was posting about the fact that this is, again, a gun-free zone, and somebody came on and said, what does that have to do with anything? And my response to her was, well, if you have shooting after shooting after shooting that happens in gun-free zones, just think of any mass shooting in the last 15 years, and you will find that the vast majority of them happen in gun-free zones. In Florida, in Florida here alone, let's take a look at it. Parkland, Florida. That was a gun-free zone. The football coach, Aaron Feist, had to use his body as a shield for his students because he was prohibited from carrying his firearm on campus there. Parkland, Florida, the club, the Pulse nightclub was a gun-free zone. Florida State University is a gun-free zone. And what that means is that under Florida law, the Republican legislature has outlawed self-defense for students, for teachers, for janitors, for staff, for anybody qualified to normally defend themselves. That's what they've done here. The Florida legislature absolutely bears some responsibility in this. So it's a gun-free zone. So my response to that woman was, well, let's say that all of the mass shooters in the last 15 years all wore yellow shirts. Would you simply ignore the fact that they wore yellow shirts, or would you start looking into why they're all wearing yellow shirts? The same is the case with gun-free zones. The vast majority of shootings in America happen in gun-free zones because these mentally deranged, evil, wicked people know that they have a greater chance of inflicting more damage before police arrive. And we see it time and time again. It's not insane. In fact, it's very common sense to infer that there's some causal connection here between gun-free zones and these killers just simply ignoring them. But now let's get down into some of the responsibility, because the radical left is instantly, they're going into hyperdrive, saying that you and me and gun owners all across America who refuse to buckle on this issue of gun control are to blame somehow. You go on Giffords, you go on Brady, you go on Moms Demand Action, you go on Shannon Watts' X page right now. Every single one of these special interest groups, by the way, that are getting their funding from these NGOs, as Elon Musk showed us, they're all screaming and shouting. A reporter just asked President Trump only moments ago if the shooting at Florida State University is going to change his opinion and what can be done congressionally. And he said, look, it's not the weapon, it's not the firearm, even though all these radical lefties are shrilling and shrieking about it online everywhere. It's not the gun that decides to wake up one morning and go and commit murder. It is the evil in the heart of these people. And I've had reporters, we've had people reach out to us over and over and over again every time one of these shootings happens. What is causing it? If it's not the guns, what is it? And we tell them it's very simple. The communists have taken over the entire education system. We've taken God out of schools. We teach kids that there is no such thing as right and wrong, that there's no objective standard of good and evil anymore. The welfare state has destroyed the family. There are no fathers raising these children anymore. And again, the school system is teaching kids that they're animals. And another major ingredient here, we pump kids full of psychotropic drugs at unbelievable levels, and these kids are growing up and they're realizing, oh wait, I've been betrayed by my parents, by my teachers, by my church, by my community. They've all, oh yeah, and we're letting them get gender reassignment surgeries when they're little, and then these kids are growing up and they're realizing, oh my goodness, that they're becoming monsters. They're becoming the monsters that the entire system was conditioning them to be. And the radical left, they love violence. They love violence when it's against Elon Musk. They love violence like this because it helps them further their agenda while claiming that they care about innocent life in some capacity. They don't. Gun control is about control. It's got nothing to do with public safety. So all of these ingredients are creating this absolute nightmare for kids to grow up in, and it's manufacturing these people. These monsters are being manufactured by the system that is largely controlled and operated by the radical left. The responsibility, in large part, rests right there. That's it. This system is radicalizing them to a degenerate, progressive worldview. They're growing up. They're taking action on what they've been evangelized in, and that is this radical leftist filth and drivel that's being pounded into their heads at every step of their lives. So that's one of the factors. But let's look at another thing, because historically, the threat of mutual destruction used to be a prohibiting factor on some of these people's decisions to go and commit crimes like this. I'm talking about the fact that they might run into other people that would quickly take defensive action and put an end to these things. Just 3 weeks ago, you guys are going to not believe this. Just 3 weeks ago, Senator Randy Fine had a piece of legislation called Campus Carry that was in the Senate committee. I'm going to pop this up here so you guys can see this. This is the vote. This was in the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. This is only 3 weeks ago. And this bill was campus carry. It would have allowed qualified, lawful adults to be able to carry and defend themselves on campus again. This was a very critical vote. And I want you to take a look at what's happening here in this vote tally. You'll see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 legislators on this panel. 5 of them are Republicans. 4 of them are Democrats. No, hold on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. 3 and 1, 2. Yeah, I think, 3. 1, 2. Eyes are playing tricks on me there. 3 Democrats, 6 Republicans. They easily had the votes to get this passed through committee. This is so that any lawful, qualified person can carry on campus. And look what happened here. Okay. You had Jennifer Bradley, Republican state senator. She was absent. She took a walk for this vote. Let me see if I can blow this up here just a little bit more. Okay. Whoops. That's the wrong one. Jennifer Bradley took a walk on this vote. Down here, State Senator Corey Simon, he took a walk on this vote. He didn't want to go on record. He didn't want to actually have to pass the bill. But that's bad, okay? It's bad when Republicans just walk away from their responsibility. But look what happened here with this one, the third one down here on the list. Senator Elena Garcia voted with the freaking Democrats to kill off campus carry. Okay, let me pop a picture of her up here. This is from Breitbart just a couple of minutes ago. This lady, and by the way, this is like one of those legislators who's totally disconnected from reality. She's from Coral Gables, one of the most wealthy Senate districts in the entire state of Florida and thus the entire country. This lady probably lives in a gated community with armed security all 24/7. Elena Garcia from Coral Gables, Florida, joined the freaking Democrats and voted no on campus carry. There it is. With friends like this, okay, this is Elena Garcia. Here's the other one. Here's Corey Simon. This is the state senator, former NFL player, if I remember correctly. He played for the Eagles, played for the Titans. I think he played for somebody else, so I don't remember. But this guy takes a walk on a gun bill. It's absolutely preposterous. Don't ever forget his name now, folks. Corey Simon choked and was not there when gun owners and gun voters needed him the most. He took a walk. Same with her, Jennifer Bradley, state senator. I don't remember where she's from. She took a walk too. And by doing that, they gave them, the Democrats I'm talking about here, gave them the majority vote that they needed to stop this bill from going forward. There is absolutely responsibility here on the part of these Republicans for what happened there today. Gun-free zones are freaking criminal protection zones. They don't stop shooters. They attract shooters. Okay. So what's happening right now is the radical left and their fake news degenerate friends are in overdrive to try to leverage this shooting into another situation that happened like after the Parkland shooting in 2018. They are trying very hard to leverage this as much as they possibly can to try to force the legislature into passing more gun control. There is a bill moving right now in the Florida legislature that fixes one of the problems that the legislature created back in 2018 when they passed that massive gun control omnibus bill that stripped away the right for 18 to 20-year-olds to go and buy firearms legally. And that bill is about ready to go through the legislature right now. We're making serious progress on it. My guess is there's going to be a lot of weak Republicans now who are like, oh, my goodness, this kid was 20 years old. He went and broke every single law written on the heart of man and in the Florida statutes. But now, oh, my goodness, we better not let these adults have their freedoms back. OK, that bill is very likely going to be inflicted with some some roadblocks now. I like what Jason Perry said here. I'm going to throw this up on the page. He says we need to ban cars now because of drunk driving, so no one else is killed by drunk drivers. That's the logic of these people in everything here. So excellent point. Throw that back up there. So that's what they're trying to do. That gun control that they passed in 2018, waiting periods, removing the ability for 18 to 20-year-olds to buy firearms, that gun control didn't stop this. It didn't stop this evil. It doesn't affect evil in the heart. It only disarms and slows down the innocent. That's it. That's it. So let's see if there's any comments I should interact with. Not at the moment, but the solution here is not more failed gun control laws. I did a media interview yesterday, actually, with a reporter, and he was asking, is there any part of the gun control bills that we see introduced every year? Is there any part of those that you guys could get behind? And I'm like, well, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard, number one. Number two, the entire gun control agenda that these people are pushing is already on the books in states like Illinois and California. And if they worked, people would load up their minivans every summer and go tour places like Chicago for their family vacations. But every day it's over 70 degrees in the Windy City, it becomes a war zone. Gun control doesn't work. Gun control is about control. That's it. And I always have to do a civics lesson with these people because somehow they try to frame the argument that gun control is all about, or gun rights. This whole discussion of gun rights versus gun control is all about crime in the streets, violent criminals, gun crime, blah 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 blah. They talk about it in that context. And anytime we agree to those terms of the discussion or the debate, we lose, because the founding fathers did not codify the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights as a guarantee that you and I could simply go and defend ourselves from thugs and killers and criminals. That was a presumed fact that our founding fathers already believed in. The Second Amendment was a restriction on government. Our founding fathers knew that violent criminals are bad, but killer governments are far worse. And that is what the Second Amendment is all about. And that's why we sit here and we're like, okay, there are things that are causing these absolute insane killers to continue being manufactured. There's something going on here. But that's not what the Second Amendment is all about. Well, that's bad, but it would be way worse if our own government turned against us. And believe me, and anybody who lived for the last 5 years knows that when given the opportunity, government grabs every single bit of power that it possibly can. So the solution here isn't more gun control laws. It's restoring the right for every lawful Floridian everywhere to carry a firearm. That means campuses. That means churches. That means everywhere that the radical left wants you disarmed. So that's what's going on here. I wanted to encourage you guys right away. A lot of times people say, "Oh, we just can't talk about it." We have to talk about these tragedies now in the immediate aftermath, because if we don't start pointing these things out, the radical left has a free fire zone. It wasn't 30 seconds before Giffords and those organizations were cranking out memes right and left saying we need to pass gun control. So, yeah, back to Garcia here for just a moment. I'm going to pop her back up here. If people like this, if people like Elena Garcia legislate like a Democrat, but say you're a Republican, they're part of the problem. Senator Garcia has blood on her hands, and so does every legislator who protects gun-free zones. And that is the status of the Florida legislature. constitutional carry was watered down into permitless carry. Florida is one of only a handful of states, 3 or 4 states now, that still bans open carry. The other states are Illinois, New York, and California, and Florida. That's it. That's it. The Republican establishment in Tallahassee is corrupt. It is degenerate, and it does not reflect where the base is anymore. So people like Senator Elena Garcia need to be primaried and forced to reckon with their districts. And maybe she wins. Maybe in a super wealthy suburban or not city district like Coral Gables, maybe Elena Garcia wins that primary. But there is the inaction by the vast majority of Republican legislators in Tallahassee needs to be punished. It needs to be punished because in that vacuum where our side, the Republicans, aren't actively pushing, that vacuum is filled by the radical left, and it's being filled right now. That's why they were able to successfully leverage Parkland, Florida, into passing a massive gun control bill through the legislature. That's what I want to come on here and tell you, folks. This has nothing to do with safety. What this is all about right now is control, and government control kills. Period. Thanks for watching.